Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Racers Driving League for Season 21, round number 4 of the Championship. Welcome to the Bahrain International Circuit for the Bahrain Grand Prix. And I'm your host, Zach RC, as always, bringing you through what should be an exhilarating evening under the lights for our first night race of the season and the first race of what could be one of the more exciting circuits with the new regulations in Formula 1 in 2026. Full grid for tonight's Grand Prix. All 22 runners, including a debutant and one driver celebrating their birthday today. I'll make mention of that later on when they go out for their first lap. But here comes Curtis in the house. First car out on circuit here in Bahrain tonight. Short qualifying session underway, 80 minutes, and of course the 29-lap Grand Prix coming your way as well. So it should be a very enjoyable evening of racing tonight. I hope everyone here is beating the heat in some way. Obviously, the sort of sense of simulation in that respect of the conditions out on track tonight. We're going to get a glimpse of that with the 30-degree temperatures a number of places in the UK at the moment for the majority of our field tonight. So first few cars out onto the circuit then, and looking for a clean start to proceedings here in qualifying. Curtis round turn 4, keeping things nice and steady. Good start to his out lap. And of course, Haas sitting there, middle of the road right now in P6 in the Constructors' Championship. Curtis has scored 6 more points than teammate TJ. So TJ might look to try and get back at Curtis over the course of the evening points-wise. And of course, speaking of points, a big return for the now former championship leader and the winner of the first race. Grumio is back on track tonight, having missed the races in China and Japan. Those races won by arguably his closest rivals in the last few seasons, Dan and Imri, respectively. Dan in China and Imri in Japan. Back on circuit here and still looking ever so strong as he has done in qualifying these first couple of races. We'll see if he can keep himself another pole position here tonight to cap off his one with Japan last week. And yes, so I mean, in terms of your Drivers' Championship, let's not forget Huff in second place. 12 points back from Dan after a very consistent last couple of rounds. Second place finishes in both China and Japan last week. Very close to his first victory last week around Suzuka. Came very close. Lost out to Imri on the last lap. But still Huff looking ever more dangerous as he's become a full-time driver. First flying lap about to get underway, courtesy of Curtis as he runs down towards the first corner, down towards turn 1. With that 4 straight modes on this circuit. 15 corners in all, down towards the very tight turn 1, one of the tighter braking zones on the circuit. Easy to get wrong. And obviously that can stuff your whole lap entirely as he sort of struggles with traction there going through turn 2 and 3. But good exit and into straight mode once again, down towards 4. Obviously a lot of long straights around Bahrain, so energy management could be all the more crucial in tonight's race. Whether we see drivers perhaps waiting for the main straight is the best place to overtake, I should think. If not, then down to as drivers look to get a response in down towards turn 4. So a number of different places to overtake on the circuit, as was always the case in previous seasons, in previous regulations here in Bahrain. But tonight that could be amplified. Into turns 9 and 10, easy to get wrong. Same thing there, easy to run wide. And Curtis backing off here, allowing one of the Audis through. That is the Audi of PJ Khaled. Of course, Audi with some points on the board already this season, 6 to their name. Those points coming courtesy of both PJ and Ethan. Those points scored in China. 18th and 16th, those guys last week. So needing a bit more progress in tonight. So it's got a car around. And it looks to be one of the Alpines, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, that's the Williams of JB. And JB, who wasn't here for last week's race, apparently a little bit rusty to start off. But recovers the car. But that's his first flying lap shot, I should think. And obviously after a podium in the first race, JB, it's been a bit of a come down with a 17th place finish in China. Tough day for him around Shanghai 2 weeks ago. And obviously didn't run it in last week's race as PJ and Ericsson go across the line for the first 2 laps. Curtis backed off, so 1:37.5 for him. Shadow Rain there. Of course, Shadow Rain was the big story last week for Cadillac and came that close to a first podium for the team in just their 3rd RDL start. Lost out by running out of fuel on the last lap, and in the end, Dan came home with 3rd place to sort of keep his lead slightly healthier in the way of the Drivers' Championship. Shadow Rain down to turn 4. Fastest time so far, and we'll see him start to contend a bit more over the course of this season. We'll have to wait and see. Next car's the line. Not quite sure who'll be next through. I just saw PJ go. Sorry, I saw Ethan go 5th fastest. 80 there in 3rd place. Of course, he's held down the mantle for Mercedes in Grumio's absence. Those guys sitting on 49 points overall. 24 for 80. Obviously, 2 4th place finishes in the first 2 rounds, but didn't score last week. Last week was a much tougher race for the Silver Arrows on the whole, as Huff goes fastest there by 2/10, or just under 2/10. So good start to proceedings for Huff. Things getting nicer and nicer for the obviously former reserve, but now has a lot of RDL experience under his belt. Let's not forget. So plenty to keep an eye on in Huff's case. It's down towards turn 4 at the end of what's been a very successful first lap, to put it mildly. As Ericsson running in P5, Alvar into P6, and this is the driver I mentioned. So I'll take this moment to wish Alvar a happy birthday and thank him for choosing to spend his Monday night and his birthday night with us here in the RDL, and hopefully we'll see a good race out of Alvar. Obviously a veteran of the league at this point. So I still remember him taking Grumio, I believe it was season 14 at Kota, taking him for the lead quite early on in the Grand Prix in a Williams. That was a sight to behold from our Alvar, but hopefully we'll see something like that tonight. But Grumio fastest, showing no mercy from the off here. 1:27.6. And we'll see if anyone's got the pace to try and match that. But Huff now all of a sudden, looking at the timesheets, he's got work to do. Grumio has won here several times in the last couple of seasons. So this has very much been his playground the last couple. At least it was on F1 25. We'll see how he handles things with the 2026 cars. So I'll say this, I mean, we've only seen one race out of Grumio, and that race was Australia, which was a crazy race to say the least, as is always the case around Albert Park. But Grumio definitely didn't look as comfortable in terms of sort of pulling away and building an advantage, which we're used to seeing him doing at certain circuits such as this one. So we'll see here as to what Grumio and how he handles things tonight. Obviously, these guys had a bit more experience now with the cars on a few different circuits. As he closes the straight mode there, both the front and rear wing, as we know, active aero in play. Curtis still running in P4 there, 128.3 on the board for Haas. Pope in P5, 128.429. And Pope is the driver who's been having difficulties in these first 3 rounds, to put it mildly. Fill out the points in the end in Australia, took a 5th place finish in China, but last week had what I believe was equipment failure. I could be wrong. Had an altercation in the end of the first sector in the rain at Suzuka. Brought out the, well, at least we're guessing, brought out the red flag. That obviously changed the race for a number of drivers. But this is a circuit that Pope's done well at in the past, so we'll see how he handles things here. And I'm showing a bit of concern for his teammate here. So Imri has been sort of going in and out of the session, so connectivity might be a slight concern for the driver who's usually there in qualifying there, or they're about to try and stand up to Grumio. And there he is rejoining once again. There's Webbsy on his out lap. Webbsy has been scored in 2 of the first 3 races, but has been outscored by 30 points to his teammate Huff. So Webbsy, who was sort of more commanding force previously in terms of the teammates he was against, now taking a back seat in this case. But that back seat is not unwarranted, because we look at the Constructors' Championship, and currently Red Bull stand on top by 4 points to McLaren, and Mercedes in 3rd place, 13 behind. So things still awfully close in the first part of the season, these first couple of rounds. And we'll see if Red Bull can hang on to that lead, but they'll need Webbsy up in the top 10 to do that, especially given that Grumio is now back in contention. One team I have our eye on here is Alpine, who have had pace in the way of both in particular of Titiori Harrison. But we've got another debutant here making his full-time debut from the off, Ben Spittles in the Alpine alongside Harrison. And those of you who've been here the last couple of races, in terms of the last few races of season 20, the first few races here of season 21, will have some idea in terms of how good the RDL has been in sort of uncovering the drivers, but sort of having these drivers come in and then performing almost immediately. Of course, Harrison was first to the flag in the Austria reverse grid finale as a reserve. TJ was marked down as the winner, but Harrison got to the line first and Short of some misfortune, he's been fantastic these first 3 rounds in terms of raw pace. Of course, I crashed midway through the race in Australia, but actually led a decent portion of the race in China, let's not forget, in the rain, as Dan sort of floundered a bit compared to his usual form. Of course, Dan came back to win the race, and an error from Harrison in the start of the last stint put paid to a first win for him. But we've got several drivers here who look to be potentially knocking on the door of, if not getting their first race win, at the very least challenging the front runners. I see no reason why Shadow Rain can't contend for a podium tonight, which will make things all the more interesting up front for Cadillac. And I see no reason why Huff and Harrison can't go for the win, other than the fact that Harrison needs a better lap than this one right now. He's on a 1:28.685 as best effort as he comes through the second sector. He's down by 6 seconds. We saw him back off, so his teammate Ben Spittle's there behind him. So it's Alpine sporting then a relatively fresh-faced lineup in the way of RDL experience. And that's always interesting. And we'll see how these two handle proceedings. Alpine currently sitting in 8th place in the Constructors, as Ben Spittles jumps his teammate into P10. 10th Cannon there in P9. Of course, 10th has had her fair share of struggles so far this season. It's been 12th, 13th, and 11th for her in these first 3 rounds, yet to nail her first point. Obviously, Dan, her teammate, sitting top of the Drivers' Championship by 12 to Huff in 2nd place. And McLaren, as I said, only a few points back. So if 10th can get herself into the points tonight, which she looks to be doing so far, that 9th place as we stand, then things could be on the upturn for 10th. Who obviously had a great second half of the campaign last season. Well, a great campaign as a whole, but the second half in particular. There's several podiums in there as well, let's not forget. Imri's back out on circuit for Ferrari. He's going through turn 4 now and completing the first sector. It's going to be a 28-1 for last week's pole setter in Japan. He's looking for more of the same here. Let's not forget, as Imri and Grumio traded pole positions almost the entirety of last season, and no other active driver on the grid this season, save for Grumio and Imri, took pole last season. The only driver who did was Che, who's no longer on the grid. Took that in Hungary, but things have been a bit more wide open. We've had 2 pole sitters so far, one in Dan and one in Imri. And Grumio and Huff look to be contending to try and get to be the 3rd pole sitter of the season. But there's still 6 minutes left, so there's plenty of time for things to change. And we'll see if they do. But as for now, though, you see Mercedes lining up to do what they do in terms of the slipstream into play. And just sort of bringing that teammate toe, I'm guessing most likely down towards turn number 11. So that's the left-hander at the end of this next straight mode zone coming up. As Imri goes fastest, there we go. And it took him about 10 minutes or so, but Imri has found himself up at the front again. But about a 10th and a half, just under a 10th and a half, in front of Grumio. So all of a sudden, the champion may need that toe to give himself a bit more of a boost to get him towards pole position again. Huff through the last corner into the pit lane now. After what I'm guessing is his 2nd run. And Pope going wide there through turn 15. And now I think just charging the back up and gun again. Apart from the Aston Martins down towards turn 1, that's Alvaro currently sits in P15. Pope down towards turn 4. So near the end of the first sector, we'll see whether he can find some time on his previous effort. He can't at the minute. He's still 200ths down on that first lap. So more work needs to be done here for Pope to try and get himself up the order right now. He's in P10s. He's in the top half, but only just. And in terms of the top half of the field, only Pope and Imri still out on circuit. I'll scrap that. Here comes 10th Cannon out onto the racetrack for McLaren. As we get towards what I'm guessing could be final runs of this session. As Lucky Lab out on circuit. Lucky has been, again, another one of these drivers who's managed to take points in all 3 races. 9th, 6th, and 8th for the veteran in that Williams. See the Williams team, the most experienced lineup on the grid by, I believe, a country mile. With Lucky and JB. Both of them currently in the bottom half. And JB needs to get a better lap in. Not quite sure if he's made any gains in the first sector. Let's hope he does. Catch an eye on JB's second split here when he grounds turn number 12. So riding that curb, think back to a time of yesteryear as JB goes half a second up on his previous effort. So good gains for JB for now. I remember a time, at least the last couple of years ago, when, obviously turn 12, he never used to be able to run that curb at speed. But things are a lot more comfortable now with the LiDAR scan Bahrain. As JB comes to the line, finds a lot of time here, up to P11. There we go. That's more like it from JB, the most experienced driver on your grid. And there he is, calling it quits for now. So nearing final runs then, as the first few cars now start to take to the circuit. Imrie and Pope out together here. We'll see what they can do. But do they plan to utilize the tow to get Pope up the field? I mean, Grumio's got to catch Imrie. Grumio is on his way out the pit lane now. Reaching the pit exit in a matter of moments here. Keeping things nice and calm then, as the champion waiting here to pick up his teammate. We'll see the players Mercedes here. And there it is, Grumio giving the tow. And I've always said that the teamwork on show between these two, perhaps the best on the grid. And evident in terms of results. As AT goes, so he's found almost 2 tenths there. Now, obviously, we won't put it all down to the tow, but monumental effort then from the teammates to help each other out. And it's no surprise these two are the reigning Constructors champions. So AT will then likely back off on his in-lap and give Grumio the tow too. Everyone out on circuit save for the retired JB. And we are in the last minute now of this qualifying session. It's like the final 40 seconds. It's Imrie still on top as he starts his last lap. Oh, PJ off circuit there. He's got his battery recharged, so he can go for another lap, but the tyres perhaps won't be as lethal as they were on the first run. On this first lap. Ten more seconds. And Grumio's going to make the line just. Alvar and Lucky both making it. So a full lap to come from everyone as they come to the line. First up, PJ into the pit lane. The two McLarens in behind. Dan in P4 at the moment, but not finding much time. Can he get himself on the front row, perhaps? He can. Into P2, but only 45 thousandths in front of Grumio. So what needs to be done for the champion to get himself up the order? 10th Cannon in P10. Next car to the line to other Audi, I believe. That is of Ethan. Ethan stays in P21. It's been a difficult qualifying session for him. Next car to the line will be one of the Alpines. That will be TTRE Harrison, who's up by almost 3 tenths in his second sector. So finding time. And just behind him, it will be the V-car with Ben as PJ retires the car. P7 for him right now. Harrison's to the line, stays P15. Ben behind. Ben into P18 to find a bit of time. Here comes the two Ferraris. Imrie fails to improve. Pope in the pit lane. Pope's left deleted, so end of a tough effort then for Pope. Huff to the line next. What can Huff do? Stays in P4. No time found. TJ to P6. Curtis backing off as HP Cook goes to P13. You can see the two Cadillacs coming through next. Webbs to P17. Here comes Scotty Goblin. Stays in last. Shadow Rain stays P7. Where are the Mercedes cars? Here they come. Can Grumio nab pole from here? He's done it. There it is. And Grumio takes pole then for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Your final gap then, just 3/4 of a tenth between Grumio and Imri. Dan start from third place, Huff P4. Look at the Haas cars there on the third row together. Fantastic qualifying from the pair of them. We'll see if they can keep up in the race. But things looking very interesting here as Grumio tops qualifying once again with his first pole of the season, perhaps. Imri second, Dan third, Huff fourth, Curtis P5, TJ P6, Shadow Rain, PJ 80 and 10th, your top 10. Pope starts from P11 and was the full second off pole there. JB P12, Ericsson P13, HP Cook P14, Birthday Boy Alvar P15, Ben Spittle 16th on debut, beats out his teammate Harrison, Webbsy 18th, Lucky Lambert 19th, then it's Ben, Ethan and Connie round at your field. That'll do it for qualifying, and we will join you in a few minutes' time for the start of the race. Welcome back to Bahrain then, and welcome to the start of the Bahrain Grand Prix, round 4 of season 21 in the Races Driving League, and we should be in for a fantastic race here if qualifying is anything to go by. Look at your circuit for the race ahead. Grumio, your defending winner for Haas. 15 corners on the Bahrain International Circuit, 4 straight mode zones going down towards turn 1, between turns 3 and 4, the run down towards turns 10 and 11, that form a DRS straight, and in between on the final straight on turns 13 and 14, and down to the line from there. It should be a brilliant Grand Prix, and we are just about a minute or so from getting going. A reminder of your Drivers' Championship heading into today's race. Dan leads the way by 12 points to Huff in second place, 58 for Dan and 46 for Huff. Imri in third place with the win last week, his first 25 points of the season. Tied with Grumio, who took his first 25 in the first race in Australia but missed the last 2. ATP 5, 1 point back on 24. Webbsy in P6 on 16, tied with HB Cook, also on 16 points. Harrison in P8 on 15, tied with JB. And your top 10 is rounded out by Lucky Lambert on 14 points, as Red Bull lead the way by 4 points to McLaren in the Constructors. And you're looking at Mercedes in third place, 13 behind, Ferrari in fourth, 27 behind, and Williams, your top 5, 33 behind. So things starting to spread out. People starting to sort of find where they are on the table in these first couple of rounds. The Drivers' Championship still yet to be established, with obviously with a number of drivers perhaps out for previous races or not scoring in places they normally would. But time to find out who will win tonight's race here in Bahrain as the formation lap gets underway. Have a look at your full starting grid for tonight's Grand Prix to our starting tyres. So your front row headed up by the dominant qualifiers of last season. Grumio, your reigning champion and defending winner here in Bahrain. And Imri lines up in P2 for Ferrari, last week's race winner. Dan starts from third place, your championship leader alongside his closest competitor in the championship. Huff starts from P4 for Red Bull. You look at Haas as the highlight of the third row there. Curtis in P5 and TJ in P6. Those guys P6 in the Constructors. Could try and jump Williams with a good result today. Shadow Rain in P7 came so close to being RDL's newest podium finisher last week. Not to be. We'll see if he can do it this time round. And PJ starts in P8 for Audi to mind their best qualifying result yet in the RDL. 80 starts from P9 and now has the Grumio to hold down the fort at Silver Arrows alongside him. And 10th Cannon starts from P10, still looking for her first points of the season. She's one of 5 drivers yet to score. Pope starts from P11, the first run on the soft tyres for Ferrari, and looking to redeem himself after a difficult race in Suzuka. Davey starts from P12, out-qualifying his teammate once again here in Bahrain. Ericsson P13, out in front of Alvar. It's a Aston Martin sandwich for HB Cook, who starts from P14. Alvar, your birthday boy, on the medium tyre. Oh, car around behind him. That is Harrison, who's crashed on the way to the grid. He'll recover the car, and no damage done, but I'm sure what he'd rather I wouldn't catch that on stream. Ben Spittle starts from P16, your debutant in the Alpine. First race as a full-time driver, first race in the RDL outright. Harrison starts from P17, he has to recover himself on the way to the grid. Webbsy P18, out-qualified by his teammate by 14 places here, with a lot of work to do, but one of the 4 cars on hard tyres. Lucky Lambert starts from P19, same thing, out-qualified by JB by 7 places, and looking to recover after scoring, he sits 1 point behind his teammate going into this race here tonight. Ben starts from P20, Ben Wow in the V car. I've got 2 Bens in the grid now, so I have to get used to calling him by his full name again in that RB. Ethan starts from P21, Audi on the back row, and got 1 Cadillac there in Cockney Goblin, dead last in P22. But the 4th driver and final driver to start on the hard tyres. Look at Imri there. Look how much he's pointing over. He's really looking to me. He looks like he means business for this race start. Look where he's putting himself there. He's really positioning himself over to Charles to the left. He's things looking quite straight. You can see it from Huff's perspective. Look at that. He's really, Imri is clearly putting a lot into this race start. As Cotton Goblin takes the last place here at the back of the grid. And you see Ethan alongside him for the charge towards that first corner. But all eyes will be on Grumio and Imri here. And these two, who have been contentious with each other and starts in previous seasons and on previous games, will we see another highlight of that today? Hopefully not. Lights are on here in Bahrain for the 4th race of the season. First race under the lights. And it's right side foot to the floor. And we are racing. Fantastic start there from Grumio. And Imri falls into line immediately on the charge towards turn 1. I'm going to try and follow the draft if he can towards the first corner. Tries the outside. No luck. Huff and Dan side by side. Huff locks up. Shadow Rain around the outside. Looks like one of the Haas cars has been swallowed going into the first couple of corners here. That it looks like it's the Haas of Curtis down the field as TJ takes P6. Pope up several spots here. That's the sort of start he wanted in Australia a few weeks back, as Grumio leads Imri to turn 4. Grumio, your reigning champion. Oh, car around. Pope saves it, and there goes AT around in front of the field, and another car off around him as well. Not entirely sure. Alvar's gone off, and the birthday boy already down the field here, and not a great start to the evening for any of these 3 drivers. Pope down the field after such a fantastic start there. A spin at turn 4, AT caught a piece of it, and Alvar at the tail end of the field as well. But these 3 still quite close. And that's both your soft tyre runners, let's not forget. So they'll still be quite strong in the first stint. Yellow flag again here. Looks like Webb's going quite slowly into turn 9. Not quite sure what the concern is for him there. He goes wide down here at turn number 10. Up front, though, Grumio leading things by 3/10 to Imri. Huff in Dan in 3rd place, Huff in 4th, and TJ in P5. Down the field here, things start to get a bit more single file as they charge into the last sector. See Ben Spittles there holding his own in P12, and Ben Wower up several places here. Started down in P18. Oh, that's a bollard that's gone. Someone's knocked out one of the braking markers there. Not quite sure who that was. But we'll carry on here as Grumio tries to break the toe to Imri as we start the second lap of the evening. Look at the telemetry now, and Imri's getting overtake boost already down towards that first corner. He's used a lot of battery here, going to try and go to the outside. Grumio forces him the long way round, and these two about to tussle, I think for the first time all season potentially by themselves, toe-to-toe. As Alvar, 10-second penalty of speed in the pit lane, and a disappointing start to the evening for him. A disappointing for Aston Martin as a whole. Ericsson, I've been saying that Ericsson up in P11, so not a bad start for one side of the garage at least in terms of the Aston Martin front. Look at that, 2 places gained then for Ericsson, and Ben Wower up 7 spots here. Our former co-commentator now charging forward in these race starts, as he has done the last couple of weeks, but we'll see if he can maintain it and try and push forward to score some points in this Bahrain Grand Prix. Tyre change only in play then for Alvar. He's gone to a set of medium tyres, as though Pope has carried on. Oh, Pope made contact with Lucky Lambert there. The 2 veterans go side by side on the way down towards turn 9 here. Lucky's got the edge in front, but Pope not holding back on the inside. Those soft tyres working to his benefit on corner exit. Can he try and pull himself in front? Not quite. Lucky gets that drive off. It's still side by side on corner exit. down towards turn 10, and JB not far behind. Hope willing his teammate to get back around Pope on the outside there, but not a bit of it. Pope on the inside keeps things nice and simple, and up into P15 then. So Pope working so back through the field here in these early laps. It's about a second up to TTRE Harrison in P14, but up front it's all single file here as Imri continues to hound Grumio, and perhaps not the launch off the line that Imri might have wanted at the race start. I mean, those of you who saw him, he was sort of parked over and really pushing to the left-hand side to try and perhaps block Grumio off at the start with the best getaway, but not a bit of it here. You see Grumio, TJ, and PJ all setting fastest laps. And again, Imri not using overtake just yet, not deploying it completely, but it's all single file here down towards the top 9 or so. And HB Cook trying to join that train as well, making it P10 as Ben Spittle's under pressure from Ericsson, making the pass rather on Ericsson. So move your debutant up into P11, one place outside of the points. No reserves in tonight's race. You're looking at everyone who's in the top 10 scoring points as long as they finish the Grand Prix or rather make it to that 95% mark to get classified. See, a number of drivers really burn through the fuel here in these opening laps. Shadow Rain there in P6, up a place on the start. It's not bad at all then for the Cadillac driver once again, the rookie here in the RDL season 21, as Imri looking under a slight bit of pressure there from Dan going down towards turns 9 and 10. Grumio in complete control though, and up by 3/4 of a second as they leave turn 10. Straight mode back in play, and Imri's going to use back to try and pull away. Obviously, Grumio's only got boost mode to his benefit. It's practically all single file. It's Alvar again in the pit lane, serving that pit lane speeding penalty. So a difficult start to things for the Aston Martin driver. He made it a safety car to really sort of save this birthday as he gets a new front wing on the car too. I'm guessing damage done there. He's away. But yeah, under pressure, perhaps potentially going a lap down if he's not careful in this race. As you see, the top 5 continues to train on down towards turn number 14 on the circuit. A bit of a gap to Shadow Rain. Shadow Rain will keep overtake, but only just. And Grumio fastest lap here, even with only boost mode on. You think about the amount of power that Imri and Dan are getting compared to Grumio right now. And Dan lifting off and looking at his team for a second as Grumio locks up into turn 1. That's going to allow Imri to close the gap a bit. Dan looking on the outside of the corner exit. Not a bit of it. Stays where he is for the time being, but overtake back in play again. And JB passing Ben Wow Wow on the run through turns 1 and 2. JB on the inside now, Ben on the outside. Who's going to win out here? As the Williams versus VCarb. These two running P5 and P7 in the constructors, respectively, those two teams. JB up in P9. Ben yet to register his first point of the season, but into P15 here. We're down to P15, and JB advances 1 place. But Pope still needs to get around these guys. He needs to try and close that gap down, which he is actively doing. So good progress being made from the season 11 champion. It feels like a long time ago now, but still got it as Pope. And hoping to use those soft tyres to the full extent of their abilities. As you see up front, things stay as they are. And it looks as though Curtis starting to fall away here. That could be where the pack sees their first sort of divide in that sense. Ben Spittle's one of only a few cars to not have boost or not have overtaken players. Pope makes the pass using his overtake on Ben into turn number 11. P15 now for Pope. He's got a sector or so to get himself close enough to JB to keep overtake onto lap number 5 of this race. Things all single file here. Not as crazy as they were in Australia, mind you, but still quite close. And Grumio, as I said in the top of the broadcast, unable to really try and stretch an advantage, at least at this stage. We'll see how things change in terms of tyre stretch later on. Whether we'll see a 1-stop or a 2-stop here, not entirely sure. But one thing we do know is that Imri's trying to close that gap, but not having much luck in going for an overtake as of yet. As Huff closes in on Dan. Let's not forget, these two are the bona fide top 2 in the Drivers' Championship. And Grumio can't take the lead from Dan in tonight's race, but he can get himself much closer with the win. As it stands, he sits 23 points back from Dan in the Drivers' Championship. Dan could make that 28 if he can get himself around Imri, but it could then become 20 should Huff pass him, and that'll bring Huff's gap down to just 9 points. It's 15 to Huff as it stands right now. So Dan, Huff, Grumio, your top 3 in the Drivers' standings. Yellow flag down at turn number 4. That's JB around. He's got the car moving again. Has he got damage though? And was there perhaps contact with somebody? Not entirely sure as to what happened there. We'll check JB's front wing for damage as he goes in through turn number 8. Nothing doing on that Williams. It looks like he's all fine. So we'll see him carry on. Unfortunately, still not too far back from AT. AT's had a horrendous start to the Grand Prix here, all things considered. I mean, you saw him up there running, started in P9, down to P18 here. Didn't fall out too favourably from the collision down at turn 4 on lap 1. But AT is still fighting, but it's as it was last week. Sort of down the order as it was in Suzuka, and not really challenging just yet, but I'm sure we'll see him later on in the Grand Prix post some sort of threat. There was PJ passing Curtis into turn 14, the first real overtake in this lead train, the top 10 so far tonight in terms of sort of on-track racing. As they go down towards turn 1 again. We're on lap 6 now, this Bahrain Grand Prix, as Curtis finds the outside here and just slowly draws himself alongside PJ in front for a second, but locks up at turn 1. And that's going to allow PJ back on the inside to move Pete back into 7th place once again. Harrison disconnecting here, running in P13 all by himself as of right now. About 3 seconds behind Ericsson, but 2 back from Pope. But that gap could close remarkably quickly here as Pope dropping Ben and Lucky into P14 now. And there goes Lucky, not quite done yet. Goes down the inside and it's close to contact. And if he'd blocked him any further, he may have taken Pope with him. And that would have been a second collision for Pope in this Grand Prix, and not at all what he'd be hoping for. But Lucky keeps things cautious, makes the pass, and goes up into P15 once again. It's all going on here in these first couple laps in Bahrain. It's fantastic to see, but things all single file here up front and just waiting for the first car to make the first move, save for obviously PJ fighting Curtis just under a lap ago. Waiting for these top 6. Imri is keeping up with Grumio, seemingly better than Dan is with Imri. And I'm guessing these top 2 would like to try and drop Dan and the rest of the train if they can. So go down towards turn 14. And TJ doing a fantastic job keeping up with these guys. Of course, Haas qualified P5 and P6, their 2 cars. So already off to a good start as Harrison rejoins. Down towards turn 1 again. No progress made. The top 4 now sort of by themselves. Still overtaking play for TJ, but perhaps a bit more risk of losing out on this lap. And Imri, first penalty of the evening. Oh, he's off to the gravel there. Keeps the car rolling. And Ben Spittle, same thing. And Pope's out. Pope is out of the race. Has he crashed the car? Looks like he's just retired. Not entirely sure what's happened there, but Pope out. Well, that's a turn up there. I shouldn't think we'll see a safety car. The Ferrari is off track and safe. There it is, green flag again, all clear. But there we go, 3 drivers now have penalties. JB gets one as well. And Pope's been auto-retired by the game. But Grumio there in the chase. Still, I mean, it's now down in 2nd place to recover from all that. Half in 3rd, Imri in 4th place. So Imri down to P4 and with a penalty. So I think it's a bit tougher than going forward for the Ferrari, or Ferrari as a whole. They go in through turn 14 and 15 to begin at lap 8. And then comes Imri into the pit lane. So the first driver in for looks to be a sort of a standard green flag stop. And I see how that has a penalty to serve. So I mean, definitely good. It didn't get a 10-second for speeding the pits. We've seen him do that before. Ben in the pit lane now, coming in for VCARB, and likely off those hot medium tires onto a set of hards. He's away. So 2 drivers made stops here. Imri down the field. We've seen how good Imri is on fresh tyres. Pope is here in the commentary box. Pope, talk us through what happened there, mate.
And then it's just retired me.
Very, very odd there. I mean, things sort of were a bit rough as a whole in the first couple of laps of the race there. I mean, what happened on the start? I mean, yeah, quite a getaway. Then down towards turn 4, all sort of fell to pieces.
Yeah, I believe I was hit. I mean, with this game, I don't actually know what's going on. But I believe I was hit and spun round, and then obviously that's your soft tyres ruined for the stint. So a bit of a shame on that. But yeah, I mean, it's not. This season's been a write-off already, so yeah, don't expect anything different.
Fair enough. I mean, for the evening here, if you want, you're of course welcome to the commentary box. We'll sort of do as we used to, but it's obviously up to you on that front.
I'll have to somehow get back in the lobby. It's not letting me back in, so.
Okay, right. Oh. We have got first few cars in the pit lane here, so they can change. But yeah, I mean, just sort of gutting evening on the whole, though, Pope, would you say, yeah?
Yeah, gutting is an absolute understatement.
Right, well, I mean, thanks for coming in to chat to us at the very least. I mean, obviously, I know it's frustrating having the game be the game sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I'm as confused as you are on that front. I'm not quite sure as to what to say.
Yeah, I mean, I've had issues that entire season, so and EA help is obviously as good as EA help it normally is.
Yeah.
But I will load myself back into the lobby and we'll run it back.
You know, I've been waiting a long time for you to say that, so we'll carry on as we are then. But as things stand right now, your sort of first few cars in the pit lane. We've got a number of cars moving for their first stops. It's about half the field or so here from what I'm seeing, or just under half the field. And your top 11 all still out on circuit at the moment. Grumio still showing the way, down in second place, Huff in third. Imri down to P14, so obviously you'll be backing your teammate a little bit in that sense to get some points for you guys over at Ferrari. But yeah, for me, he's got a 3-second time penalty for track limits, so a bit of an excursion down at turn 3. We've got a yellow flag for a stop. Webbs is out the race here. I'm not so sure what's happened to him. But he's pulled the car over and it looks to be the same place as where you cap things off. But yeah, so there we go then. Webbs out. But obviously, fortunately for Red Bull, they've got Huff in there. Huff done a fantastic job these first couple of rounds. There goes Shadow Rain making the pass for P4 on TJ. And Shadow Rain's been excellent himself, hasn't he, in these first couple of races?
I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously I've been trying to focus on myself and my own pace, but having a look at some other people, yeah, I mean, the standard has just gone up tenfold. A lot of people, obviously, really focusing, and yeah, good standard at the minute in the RDL, which is lovely to see.
I dare say this may change the game here. We've just seen Grumio get his first penalty of the evening. 3 seconds track limit, same thing as what Imri's got. So all of a sudden he's got Dan Huff on his tail. And you maybe come back. I saw you rejoin there, Pope. You're coming back at quite an interesting time here. Things could get a bit more exciting. Yellow flags out. Imri is heading off. Down at turn 3 again. He's recovered it. And he's knocked out one of the DHL bollards on the way down towards turn 4. But yeah, I mean, things sort of... I mean, Ferrari have... sort of had it against them this first half of the race so far.
I've never felt like more of a Ferrari driver. My game's just crashed again, trying to load back into the lobby as a spectator, so I have no idea what's going on.
All right, do you know what? We won't force it. We'll I mean, Pope, yeah, we'll sort of cut it there in terms of the I mean, it was an idea. Hopefully, we'll get more chances.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll try one more time. I'll keep myself on mute and fingers crossed it'll work this time. This game is atrocious.
Completely up to you, mate. We've got a car in the pit lane now. Shadow Rain is in for his first stop. 10th Cannon is joining him, so a few more cars from that lead train coming in. Was the plan for a 1 or a 2 stop pit? What were you thinking for the race?
My strategy was a soft, medium, hard. I knew obviously I had terrible qualifying, so I needed to make up as many places as possible, and I won't mind a pitting a lap early. It will be a 2 stop. The 1 stop is just not viable, in my opinion. You're just going to lose so much pace, especially with energy management this season. So I go for a medium, hard. I think most people will be doing.
Well, there is your champion's insight from Tickle Me Pope, or Touch Me Pope, the season 11 drivers champion. Up front, the current champion Grumio is under real pressure from Dan Huff in 3rd place. Dan, I thought was going to go for a move on the outside, go down towards turn 8, but didn't have enough space to go for it. So we'll keep things in line, and we'll see here exactly as to where I'm wondering as to where Imri will come out from the pit lane, because he's the first car into the pits of these 4 drivers, but has had an excursion or two since coming into the pit lane. So he's down in P16 now, and already behind a fair few drivers who have made their stops. So things have sort of equally fallen to pieces for Imri. It could be down to these 3 now to try and settle this race, but there's still a long way to go, and we could see a safety car something. All 3 staying out for now. On to lap 12 here, nearing the halfway stage of this Bahrain Grand Prix, and it's been single file throughout for these guys up front. I'm interested to where Shadow Rain might emerge, because I mean, he's on the fresh tyres himself, and currently sitting at the moment about 26 seconds back as Courtney Goblin, his teammate, gets a penalty. Imri is rejoined, so I'm guessing there may have been a disconnect there for him. Pope, I think I saw you in. Is that right?
Yes, I am in finally.
Excellent. Well, in that case, then we shall run it back like old times, from at some point in the first 200 races of the of the RDL. As I forgot to mention, last week. 200 Grand Prix run from the Japanese Grand Prix last time out. For those of you who were there for that, this is Grand Prix 201 on the Zach RC channel. And here's hopefully another 200 if JB keeps me on that long.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I can't see why not. Not to toot me on horn. But, yeah, I mean, if these three keep on being excited at the front, I mean, it's been all sort of single file, but these races have definitely felt more like chess matches compared to other Grand Prix in the ground effect cars. Yellow flag's out, and that's Imri backing off. I think I may have had another trip off circuit. I'm not quite sure if he's got damage there. He has, yes.
But yeah, I think I'm eating my own words in a minute with the top. Looks to be 7, all going to be doing a one-stop, I presume. Maybe apart from the hard tire runners of Lucky and Harrison. The rest are going for one-stops, which is
and then they'll come.
Quite risky, in my opinion.
In come the 3 leaders then, right behind. Oh, damn penalty there. And that might open things up for Huff a little bit more. Huff came very close to victory last week in Japan. Grumio time penalty. Dan 10-second pit lane penalty. Huff will come out just behind these guys as it was. So order is unchanged as Harrison now leads for the first time tonight on lap 13, yet to stop. As you said, Pope would likely see one stop from the hard tire runners. We'll see them go as long as they can, Harrison and Lucky. But here come Grumio, Dan and Huff, and those three nose to tail. And Shadow Rain not far behind either. And he could be on for a podium potentially if he gets things moving.
It'd be very hard, I think. He's committed himself to the 2-stop, which basically rules him out, in my opinion, of Imri retiring. I mean, we've had an absolute day and a half at Ferrari.
Ferrari have indeed had a day. That is one way of describing it. I'll give you that.
As per this season has gone. But yeah, Shadow Rain, I think is going to be really unlikely to get a podium. Truthfully, I think P4 would be a brilliant result for Cadillac, and he's been fantastic since his debut.
Well, P4 as it was last week for Shadow Rain. Of course, 10th place in China, yet technically yet to finish outside of the points in an RDL Grand Prix, as both Ben and JB both getting penalties there. I mean, they're not close to each other. That's just sort of two. They may have took it at the exact same corner both times, but yeah, I mean, gutting for Ferrari and for those guys with the penalties as well. There's currently 6 drivers to keep an eye out for with penalties. Grumio with 3, Dan with 10, Ben Spittles on debut with 6. Ben Wow with 3, Courtney Goblin with 3, and JB with 6. So track limits not kind to everyone so far, Pope, tonight's race.
No, it surprises me, Bahrain, because I mean.
Sorry, Pope, I'll cut you off there.
Ooh,
it's pass for third. Oh, both Huff jumping the pair of them. There's a change for you, Pope. And Grumio
wow, Grumio late on the brakes through there.
Here we go then. It looks to all be heating up here in Bahrain as things get a bit more tasty between these three. It's been all sort of nose to tail, no real running, no real overtaking in the first half of the race or so. But now on fresh tyres and a bit of clean air about them, at least for the car in front now, it's Huff. These guys could be set to let loose a bit more.
Yeah, if Huff really tries now to pull away, use a bit of that tyre life earlier on, try and get out of that 1 second, it will really bridge a gap between Grumio and Dan, especially while they are on time penalties. So let's see if Huff can try and extend that gap, but it's looking quite hard. Grumio's got some wicked pace today, even without that overtake mode.
Well, I'm thinking Dan most likely will serve it as second stop if he takes one. I'm not sure. I mean, as you said, I doubt he can go all the way in terms of that set of hard tyres. Big train here, down from P7 down to P12, being led by HB Cook in the V-Carb, followed by PJ, TJ, 10th, Ben Spittles, and Ericsson in 12th place for Aston Martin. Of course, tough day for the other Aston Martin. Of course, the driver celebrating his birthday today, Alvar. Not the sort of birthday you want to have.
Yeah, it is a tough one. So shame from that. Haas probably a little bit disappointed at the minute. I mean, TJ's in a decent position, but Curtis, after obviously starting on the third rotor grid, little bit of no man's land. So shame for them at the minute as Huff gets the fastest lap.
And he's not done yet, making the pass out on Lucky Lambert towards Taman. Remember, Lucky's yet to stop in this race, but I dare say could provide a bit more excitement here as Grumio came very close to running to the back of the Williams there. And I'm not sure. I mean, Grumio not seeming as sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Not as inevitable as he has done it in previous seasons during the circuit. As Ericsson gets a penalty of his own there for Aston. But yeah, I mean, he's stuck behind Lucky Lambert and Dan in his wake as well. So things not great for Grumio right now.
That's exactly what Hoff needs. Whoa, that is a cracking move, but switch back. Not what Grumio needs, as he really needs to just get past Lucky as quickly as possible. Dan is in the worst predicament at the minute. He needs to follow Grumio through and get past as quickly as possible.
Well, now's his chance. Overtake boost in play down towards turn number 11. Straight mode as well, but same thing for Lucky. Very tight there going in towards turn number 11 on the circuit, but there you go. There's the pass, and Dan up into P4, but about 6 tenths back now from Grumio. So these top three in terms of the net P1, P2, P3 have split things up. As you see, Harrison in front of them. He's got Alvar right behind him.
All this though has let Shadow Rain close a little bit now, about 1.8 seconds behind Dan. Not too far away, and he will have overtake mode through Lucky.
So Shadow Rain hopefully getting a bit closer to these guys in front. PJ still sort of leading that train in behind. No change in terms of the order there. Actually, no.
Big up from Grumio in turn 1.
Oh, here we go.
Dan going past.
And overtake made then for your championship leader.
Yeah, very interesting battling up at the front. You normally see it last to the late laps now, but Hoff is put a bit of pressure on these two. He's the one who has the wiggle room at the minute, so we'll see what he can do.
So things start to get a bit more interesting as we reach the second half of this Grand Prix. There's only been 13 laps to go across the line, and obviously these guys have only been on these hard tyres for a few laps here. Lucky sort of now has Shadow Rain in the same predicament behind, as you said on the last lap, Pope, with Dan. He's got to get his way through, and he's got to do it quickly to not lose any time to the 3 cars in front if he wants any chance of trying to catch him. And things looking good for PJ, let's not forget. Sorry, we're thinking about it. He's on the medium tyre, so I have to stop again, I should think. But Lucky needs to pit as well, and that might put PJ into P6, and that'll be, from what I'm seeing here, Audi's best finish. Their best finish so far being P8, courtesy of PJ in China.
Yeah, PJ's in a really good position at the minute. Obviously, ahead of those hard tyre runners, probably drop off is about now, so you should see the hard tyre runners pushing. But recently got past Cork, who is under pressure by 10th as well, who is looking for her first points of the season.
Shadow Rain now through past Lucky. Oh, no, Lucky into the pit lane, so that explains it. 10th, yep, currently giving chase to Cook down the main straight towards turn 1 again. We're on lap 17 of this Bahrain Grand Prix. There goes 10th to the outside now, making a move for what is P7 on the circuit. And not close to try and challenge PJ as well. But a bit wide off her line. That's going to open the door again for Cook to try again on the outside. Not a bit of it. And move 10th into P7. But not over yet, though. Because Cook may come back out down towards turn 4. Nope, not happening. But behind, TJ going for debutant Ben Spittles into turn 4. It's close to contact. Out of our penalty. Ignoring a blue flag. I'm guessing being there in front of Harrison, if I had to assume. As TJ and Ben side by side here. Oh, and a slide from Ben Spittles. And opens Ericsson, or opens the chance for Ericsson to try and get closer as well.
Yeah, Ben Spittles on 6-second time penalties, so really fighting for P11 at the minute, even P12, so that's where he's provisionally. But let's see if he can push himself up, try and get a gap built to the likes of Curtis, who is, like I said, just in the middle of no man's land, trying to catch up as much as possible to the train ahead.
Speaking of trains, one building here back up front as Harrison is still leading Huff, Dan and Grumio as Alvar pulls out the way to let these guys through. Doesn't want to get another penalty for a blue flag ignorance. As they round turns 40 and 50, I think this will be the pass of the lead here. Harrison looks to be pitting this time. Yep, in he comes. Harrison, trying the one stop here, and he might actually have to pull it off, but Huff now in the lead outright, but Dan still in second place and Grumio right behind.
Yeah, should be all right. I mean, he's got, 11 laps on the mediums. The rest of the grid went 12 on higher fuel load. But it also gives those in the top 3 confidence that they've selected the right strategy.
Definitely works out quite nicely for those guys. As you see, things are closed a bit more now. No traffic in the way, and it's all stations go for Huff, Dan, and Grumio. Shadow Rain about 4 seconds back now. I'm sort of leaning to what you were saying earlier, Pope. There's not much chance here of a podium finish for Shadow Rain, short of a retirement, or unless Dan says that penalty, which he still might not, I don't know. And 10th Cannon still challenging Cook for P5. Cook gets 10th back for what is now P5 on the circuit. A few more cars in the pit lane here. Harrison, obviously, we saw pitting a moment ago. Ericsson, PJ, and AT all in. AT's a difficult night tonight as well. About as difficult as it could be without being out of the race. as he makes it down towards turn 4.
Yeah, tough start to the season for a lot of people. It's just a massive change, so I think once you get to the second half season, I think it'll be a bit more typical, but the pace, like I say, it does fluctuate from driver to driver, track to track, which is lovely to see, as we see Dan closing once again, but just isn't seeming to be able to get past Huff. Huff has got some wicked pace at the minute.
And I thought I saw Grimio nearly run into the back of Dan, but nothing to it for the time being. But still a bit of slipstream there. Only overtake in play for Dan, only boost mode for Huff, and Grimio making no real progress as he locks him into turn 1. So Grimio, I mean, as I said earlier, he's not seemed as imperious. That's the word I was looking for earlier. He's not really seemed sort of as on it. I mean, I know he hasn't had a Grand Prix in 3 weeks, but at the same time, this is the 11th-time champion we're talking about, Pope.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I mean, it's for someone who hasn't played the game for a couple of weeks, and it's been massive change. There's been, 3 updates in between his last race and now, as Huff goes wide, allowing Dan to go at the inside. Oh, Dan, big snap of oversteer there. That was very, very close to a race-ending incident as he goes round the outside into the hairpin. Can he do it through traction? This is brilliant racing.
Side by side with the race lead here on the run down towards turn 11. I was focused on a switchback between 10th and Cook, but there goes Dan for the first time tonight, and your championship leader is now your race leader. Dan takes the lead. Half in second, bit wide of his line there through turn number 12. Sorry, down to turn 12, and Grumio still waiting to try and pick up the pieces behind him. But with that penalty in mind, that could be a tougher task. So I was watching 10th and Cook fight to go over P6 down at turn 4. So Cook with a fantastic switchback. It didn't work, unfortunately, so 10th holds on to P5, but still great racing all down the field here.
Yeah, it just shows, what this new generation of cars allows. But yeah, as we're saying, I mean, Grumio's driving a completely different game to what he drove last time, so very hard to decide where his pace is, but I think he's looking absolutely brilliant for 2 people who have been fantastic in the past weeks. When he's not been there, he's just straight back on pace with them. Yeah, very impressive.
Right on it is the current champion, as you saw Huff getting back around down there. As Grimio now tries the inside on his arguably main rival. Fastest out there from TTRE Harrison, who's running in P10 for now on the medium tyre. I'm guessing running those to the end, but Huff, I don't want to say it yet, Pope, because you never know. I don't want, but I think with 9 laps to go, I think you know what I'm thinking here.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's looking good, but never say never, especially with those 2 cracking drivers behind. I've got to give him... Oh, yellow flag. That is
Connie Goblin. He's got around on the back stretch.
Connie Goblin, that's unfortunate. Oh, stuck in neutral.
Revving
that car out. Oh, yeah, we definitely have. I've got to say, Cook has been the MVP for me this race for just pure on-track action. It's been brilliant to watch. Unfortunately, passed by TJ on this lap. Surprised they're not going in for another pit stop, unless they're going to go for softs. I'm very, very surprised. I mean, what's their tyres on now? I mean, 11 laps for Cook. We'll make it perfectly fine. Oh, I mean, might not, actually. Expect Cook in this lap.
It'll be close, we'll say that, yeah? So we'll see Cook, hopefully see Cook into filling this time, as you say, Pope. But as of right now, his main task is also trying to chase down TJ in 10th. But will he abandon it for a pit stop? He stays out.
No.
So I was just in a message from Websy in the chat. I'm not sure how long it's been sat here for, so apologies if it's been here for ages. 40 down, so I'm guessing a gearbox problem for Websy. The downshifts were quite faulty for him, so he's sort of called it quits to sort of save himself in that sense.
I mean, I can speak on this because I've had countless issues, but this game is absolutely plagued at the minute with bugs and all that jazz. So, yeah, feel for Websy, really do.
Coming to 8 laps to go this time. Grumio now in the 2nd spot, Dan in 3rd, and Dan obviously of the three of them, we'll say, but sort of by default here with the least amount of chance to win this race. I mean, for starters, obviously he's there in 3rd place, and he's still got that 10 seconds to serve. And Shadow Rain he's within that 10 seconds, so could still be staring down the barrel of his first RDL podium and Cadillac's first podium too. You know, I mean, it's not over yet. I mean, things could still happen, as you say, with Huff chasing P1, but you don't know just yet. No one knows.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that gap. I think he's just dropping a little bit too much per lap to stay within that 10. But if these lot start fighting a little bit more, then who knows?
I mean, you look at it as
Very,
well.
very interesting in the last lap.
Oh, and in he comes. So, 2 stop them for Shadow Rain. And I'm guessing, I mean, that maybe be the death knell in terms of a chance at a podium here for Cadillac. Their wait continues on for what looks to be a 5th race, which will be next time out.
I think it'd be TJ who will be taking Shadow Rain's position. He will not be pitting unless Shadow Rain's still got that wicked pace to catch up to TJ. Going to be very, very hard for him as Ben Spittle's also in the pit lane.
He's had a solid debut thus far as Ben Spittles, and soft tyres on to run the final 8 laps of the Grand Prix. Will they last a long, Pope?
Yeah, my tyres were brilliant, to be honest. It's a shame my game didn't agree with that.
Yeah,
But,
it was just everything else.
After having a spin, yeah, they were brilliant. Yeah, really good set of tyres around the circuit. So watch out for some really good pace. He's got quite a few cracking drivers though to pass through, so gonna be quite hard for him.
Shadow Rain's been tasked now with taking on a few of our more experienced drivers, in particular Ethan and Curtis. Harrison obviously still quite new to the league. HB Cook's been here for a couple of seasons now. 10th Cannon also in play as Dan and Grumio now fighting. Dan going for the race lead here on the inside. Slight bit of wheel banging off turn 14. And Grumio can make it 3 wide here potentially. Gets himself close enough. On to that 23. 7 to go. The champion boxed in. Contact there. And Grumio goes blasting through. Passes Dan. He can't pass Huff. Not in turn 1. Lock up from Huff. Grumio has the inside line. Bit deep from the Red Bull. Look at this, Pope. 3 different constructors all vying for the same bit of tarmac, and Grumio on the outside doing as he does best.
Yeah, that's a very typical Grumio pass. Very late swipe though across that straight. I'm not too sure about that one, but Grumio's through. This is exactly what he needs. Oh, contact. That is damage for Huff, 100%. Saw something come off his front wing there.
We'll see the impact here as Dan also fights his way through on corner exit. He's up there. I'm thinking it's that left end plate from what I'm seeing here. If I had to put a wager on it, if there is anything.
It looks fine, but I definitely saw something come off as Huff lights up those rear tyres.
Looking at it from Dan's rear camera on the TV pod, it is definitely the end plate on the left side for Huff. The question is now, I mean, Grumio is now bolted, so all of a sudden things open up a little bit more in favour of the champion, because Grumio now sits about 1.8 clear of Huff, and he's only got 3 seconds. And both these 2 cars are now out of overtake mode range, or at least Dan will be. Huff will get it off of Dan, but these 2 now need to work together and try and close the gap down. I mean, Dan's got nothing more to lose here. TJ has got his own 3-second penalty and is already 11 seconds behind Huff. So Dan can sort of play disruptor here for Huff, because obviously he's fighting him in the championship.
Let's not roll out 10 for a podium here. I'm just having a look. Depending on if Dan can climb back into that window, which I think is going to be very hard. I think Grumio is just going to do a classic Grumio and stretch off. With damage and stuff, I don't know. Watch out for 10th. 10th is looking really, really quick. Probably a bit more pace than TJ at this current minute, and with that 10-second penalty, interesting.
Which is just on 2 laps older tyres than TJ. But yeah, TJ, with the penalty, I think it opens up quite nicely. I see Shadow Rain here on the tail of Curtis for what is P9. He's managed to dispatch Ethan already, as Curtis moves all the way over to the right hand side of the circuit there. He's got damage, it seems. Yes, he has, yes.
That might explain, yeah, that front wing. Might explain how he was just a bit stagnant in a world of Curtis's own a few laps ago, but Shadow Rain really struggling to pass. I think this is the one thing with a bit of experience, Shadow Rain will be flying. Once he's contact, and he spins Curtis. Yeah, that's unfortunate. A little bit more experience, and that will be a little bit of an easier pass for him. But yeah, that's Curtis has lost a lot of positions there. As a former steward, I know what I'd be saying about that incident.
And I'll say this, in the sense of this little train now, the 2 Williams cars have all of a sudden joined the party. JB in P10, Lucky in P11, but JB with the 6 seconds to think about. So Lucky won't score points. It's down to Lucky to get the points for the Grove-based outfit. He's got to contend with Ethan, and for the time being, Shadow Rain's Cadillac. It's 9 seconds to Harrison. I'm thinking it's off the cards for Shadow Rain to get anything more than this, short of any late pit stops.
Yeah, Huff making a pass past Daniel. Aaron got damaged though, so brilliant in the first sector with the straights, but this is where he's going to struggle. Those tyres are going to burn up. We saw Harrison do 18 laps with a non-damaged front wing. The amount of tyre wear that you get once you've got a little bit of damage is a lot more. He'd probably going to be struggling from now on.
Hold on, wait, hang on. Has he lost an end plate?
I don't know. Maybe he hasn't. He definitely got damaged though, 100%.
It looks as though it's regenerated. I mean, Pope, have a look at it as I go through turn 12. That end plate is very much
Yeah, no,
there.
it looks fine.
Oh, okay. Well, but perhaps he's not that damaged. Perhaps it's one of those things where you sort of see an artifact come off the car, but nothing actually goes off it. Because
Maybe odd.
I didn't see it.
Very strange.
I'm sort of going off what you're saying here in terms of you saw something fly off, so we're guessing it's an end plate.
Yeah.
But if he's got no damage,
That is very odd.
If he's got no damage, then he's got.
But what he
laps.
does have is a McLaren on his gearbox.
And given the man behind the wheel of that McLaren, I can tell from a slight bit of experience that is not a McLaren you want behind you with 4 laps to go. I'll say that for one thing. And for another, Grumio 2.3 in front. It's going to be awfully close here. Huff's going to have to give everything he's got to try and ensure he stays in that 3-second gap. He can't afford any mistakes, can't afford to be grappling with Dan too much. He's got to keep that McLaren at bay. And if Dan does get past, Huff's got to dispatch him again very quickly because he can't afford to lose much time. But aside from that, the gap's staying very stagnant here between Grumio and Huff. And let's not forget, Grumio's tyres will be quite worn as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're all on the same tyre wear. They've all been battling quite hard. Less fuel, which is great. I'll tell you whose tyres have took a beating is HB Cook's, because 17 laps and he's still got another 4 to do. 4. They are going to be screaming out in pain. Be careful of a puncture, is what I would be saying.
So perhaps the one stop then, as you said earlier, not the viable approach at all here. The tyre wear is just a bit too high, and Harrison will likely want to take advantage of that. He's right on the tail of Cook going down towards turn number 11. Up behind them is side-by-side between the two Williams cars. JB and Lucky racing for P10 here. Lucky gets the outside on this occasion. Oh, contact! And both Williams cars up in the wall! And
oh, wow, that's got to be a safety car.
And the cardinal sin... But both cars still going, but the cardinal sin of racing has just been evoked by 2 of our most experienced drivers, Pope. You do not crash into your teammate.
Oh, the Gazette is going to love that.
They are going to have a field day with that.
Yeah, that is the one thing that you never want to happen. I've had it myself multiple times, crashing into a teammate. It's the worst feeling. That is a horror. They were so close. They would have got points as well. But pushing each other just that little bit too hard.
And JB running P14 for now. With no end plates left in the car, ends up with the worst of it. Lucky carries on, but I'm guessing feeling a tad bit guiltier over the over his teammate in the pit lane there. I mean, I didn't see too much from a distance, truth be told, so we won't point fingers. We'll leave that to the stewards. But just between the pair of them, not something you want to do. 3 laps to go, and Huff is 2.7 behind now. It's getting closer and closer. He can't afford a penalty here, as Lucky Lambert slow out of turn 3. I think he's gone around again, but he's recovered it. Green flag back out.
Yeah, Harrison ahead of Cook now as well. This is helped Shadow Rain, because obviously we know we had a little incident with Curtis before. It's hard to say what necessarily that time penalty will be, if there is one. I presume there would be. But Ethan needs to clamber back in, but he's in a good position at the minute, Ethan. Provisional P9. Very, very good race for him.
So things as they run them. We've got 2 laps to go here in Bahrain. And Dan now challenging Huff on the outside. And that's not what Huff wants. Huff going for his first win. And the more these two fight, the more Grumio may pull away. But Huff's got the inside line and Dan locks up. So staying as they are then. But Dan is going to make Huff's job so much more difficult here in the last lap and a half. As he goes for it again on the inside. And trying to force Huff into some sort of error. But nothing doing. Huff holding strong. But the gap's now 2.993 seconds. And Grumio, for the first time all evening, moving out to that 3-second range. And that might be all she wrote, Pope. Unless Huff can drag himself back into that range, Dan fighting him there may have cost Huff a chance to race victory, and it might be looking like second place for him for the 3rd week in a row.
Yeah, that gap was staying quite stagnant between Grumio and Huff, so it's going to be very hard for him to clamber back up, but it's tactical by Dan. If Huff gets 25 points, that's 10-point swing in that Driver Championship, and that is his closest contender. It's only going to be a 3-point swing at the minute, so yeah, very, very smart.
Dan doing all he can here, but is it over yet? I mean, Huff's brought the gap down, he's brought the gap down a little bit these last couple of sectors, the last 2 sectors in particular, so it's still sort of on the bubble here. Grumio starts the bowl lap. He's got to give it everything here. He's out of battery, truth be told. He's going to have to charge it back up again to go down towards turn 1. But Dan with overtake here, and Dan will make Huff's job very difficult here as he fights for his first career RDL victory. He's almost a full season's experience with us here, mostly as a reserve. This is his first go around as a full-time driver as the window swings back inside of within 3 seconds. It's going to be potentially a matter of milliseconds.
This is going to be great. This is going to be an absolutely brilliant end. This is where Grumio's been strong, though. This middle sector, just able to rely on that and lean on that car a little bit more on the brakes.
It's only 600th or so separating them right now as the winner goes back inside 2.8 seconds. He's going to be going up and down here. He's going to come right to the line, and Dan, we want to try to do anything he can to try and keep Huff from taking the win. As you say, Pope, 10-point swing. If Huff can win this thing, that'll put him just 2 back from Dan going to Saudi Arabia next week. Grumio is set to re-establish himself in a title fight regardless.
That was a late lunge on Huff. I thought Dan was going to go for it, but spooking Huff into a little mistake, went a little bit wide, buying Dan that extra bit of time as he wiggles through there as Grumio about to go through the final corner.
That would look to be game, set, and match then for Salve Grumio as he rounds the last corner. 3 weeks away, no worries. Grumio back to winning ways. Friday gets the line first, he crosses it. 3 seconds have just passed, and by just under a tenth, or under 2/10, a quarter of a second separates them. A photo finish in its own way. Salve Grumio wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Huff in P2, Dan in P3, TJ to the line in P4. 10th Cannon will come home with a penalty there. 10th Cannon will take P4 away. And Shadow Rain, that's Courtney, sorry, crossing the line. TJ P5, Harrison P6, good race for him. His second best finish so far. HB Cook P7, Shadow Rain P8 in the end, and then things didn't work out for him. It's in the way of strategy. PJ P9, more points for Audi, and Ben Spittles on debut crosses the line P10, but Ethan will take the last point in front of Curtis, and Ben Spittles on debut P12. Not a bad start at all then, Pope, as Ericsson will come on P13. Looks like Lucky, Ben, AT, JB, Courtney and Alva, the rest of the order, short of any late drama, but we've got late drama up front here, and the Gazette's going to have a number of different headlines to choose from here, as Huff, again, was so gut-wrenchingly close.
That is... It's painful, but also, you've gained on your nearest challenger. It's not bad, but has Grumio now jumped him? I'm not too sure. I'd have to double-check.
I wouldn't think so. Grumio scored 50 points now from this season.
Not quite. Close though. That is it's crazy. It's only taken two races for Grumio, and he's going to be what, P3 in the standings. Yeah, that's
well, he's only jumping in, Ray.
Very.
Only 1 place gained. But there it is then.
Only 1 place gained, but that 25 points.
Big 25. So celebrations to begin then here in Bahrain. Grumio, your winner. Only just though. You had to work hard for that one. Huff in second place, 3rd week running. And Dan, despite the pit penalty, the one-stop worked out for those 3 as a whole. And Dan comes away with 3rd place. 4th place goes to 10th Cannon, McLaren 3 and 4. That should be enough then to try and take the Constructors' Championship lead away from Red Bull. TJ P5, 1 place up from his starting spot, so one of the Haas cars in the points in the end. Harrison P6, great race from him at P17 to P6. The one-stop work for him as well. Cook in P7, good points for V-Carb. Cadillac's Shadow Rain again in 8th place. PJ P9. And Ethan takes your last point, followed by Curtis outside of the points. Ben Spittles in P12. Ericsson P13. There's Lucky, AT, Ben Wow, JB, Courtney, Alvar, Imri, Websy, and obviously our very own Pope here. Unfortunately, down as a retirement Pope. I hate to remind you, it must be like quite a while ago now, based on all of that. But yeah, I mean, just give me your thoughts sort of from what you saw up here.
Yeah, I mean it's cracking racing when it goes well. I think, like I say, still people are trying to figure out what best way to get around it, but some really good racing in that midfield as well. Obviously, we can talk about the top three as much as possible, but that midfield is super strong at a minute.
So yeah, fantastic race to say the least there, and each one has been entertaining up to the last, which hopefully will be a continued trend going forward, if I do say so myself, because that'll make this season very, very interesting. And I think that'll still be an understatement. And obviously, I'm hoping you guys at Ferrari can get yourselves up front there as well.
I mean, yeah, whoever takes that Ferrari off me, I don't with the way this game's going, I don't think I'll be in it much longer, which is a big shame.
I mean, if that's the case, will I be able to convince you to come back up here on a bit more permanent basis?
No.
Okay. Okay, we have got we have got our first arrival here. 10th Cannon comes home P4, 10th, first point of the season. Is that more like it?
Sorry, I was muted. I was texting TJ back. Yes, it absolutely is. This is a really cathartic result for me. I'm not gonna lie and say I've been. I'm not gonna pretend like I knew this was gonna happen, because I'm good if. I was starting to doubt myself a little after having 3 races out of the points, but yeah, this is. I think the shot in the arm that me and Dan needed was to get a good result for both of us here.
Well, to mine, that should mean that you guys now should be leading the Constructors' Championship. So you please just sort of put your own foot forward in contribution to that?
Oh, yeah. I think a theme of my season, for the entire season, has and will be trying to be a good number 2 driver and making contributions in relations to that. And I was struggling. I think my mentality had become a bit warped. I was worried that I might not be able to score points much this season, if at all. But to get some big points, to not just get points, but to get like some big points for the P4 is, like I said, it's a shot in the arm I needed.
Big double digits. That was your level with Curtis, who currently sits in P12. So about 5 or 6 place gain in a minute, and actually also jumping in front of Pope, I did say so myself. Going forward in terms of next few races, obviously Jeddah next week. Is this hopefully a return to 10th Cannon of last season?
I hope so. I don't know whether it will be, because, you know, coming off the back of 3 consecutive finishes at the points, but one thing I've always said is it's not going to stop me from trying. I mean, I turn up every week, I do the practice, I put the hours in. I mean, we'll just see on the day. We'll see what happens, and if I'm good, I'm good, and if I'm not, then, oh well, I guess we've got to move on next week. Biggest thing now is I'm on the board, and I can kind of stop worrying a little bit, but for at least, like, maybe 1 or 2 races. Not that that'll stop me from, like, trying to get more, because I'm greedy. I want more points.
Fair enough. So the duck broken then for 10th Cannon, her first points this season, P4 at the checker flag. Woo! And just 3 places behind, HB Cook, who came from P14 today, and up 7 places to make the flag for some more points of VCARB. Cook, mate, good race. The one stop paying off for you? Was that the big part of the race today?
Yeah, it could have been so much better. I'm not gonna disregard that, but yeah, we'll take the points at the end of the day. You know, the strategy worked. Just would have heard it if other people probably would have helped. You know, obviously, but yeah, obviously it's all racing at the end of the day. You gotta fight for position, and we maximise what we could do.
I mean, you sort of said that the tyres survived just. If you want to give us a bit of insight here, how close were you to a puncture or anything like that?
I'd say maybe 1 or 2 more laps. Still would have been in that range, probably somewhere around there. You know, I was talking to Ben. We were trying to do estimations about when, if we thought they were ready to end. I think when Shadow ran pit on like lap 22 or something like that, and we saw that pretty much we'd been P7 at least. We thought, you know, let's just go for it, get to the end, get the points in the bag, and then just get out of here.
Fair enough. I mean, the smash and grab is definitely a tactic I've employed myself at certain points in my driving myself, so I can relate to that. 20 points 22 points now on the board, I believe, for VCARB and the constructors. But Haas scoring as well today. Those guys were your closest challengers at the minute. I think they're currently sitting, 4 points in front of you guys, I want to say, or 6 points, sorry. Is that will Haas be your main challenges? Do you think they'll be main rivals this season?
I don't think we have any challenges yet. I think it's too early in the season to, met rivalries and all that. When we get to like round 18, then you can say, oh, actually, it's into business end at season, he's part of these. But for now, it's just take every race as it comes, get the points, and then see where we are.
And in terms of next week, how are we taking Jeddah as a circuit? What's the outlook for Saudi Arabia?
I don't know, because I did a race there yesterday, and it was very up and down. So we'll just see what happens on the day. We've seen in lead racing that anything can happen. And actually, like I say, we saw Imri, who you normally think's up there, out of a massive incident with Curtis, which nearly ruined both mine and PJ's races. So we'll just see what happens.
Yes.
It's going to come down to consistency, and hopefully I have enough points.
I was going to ask, is there any word at all on the collision between you and Curtis?
From what I saw, to be honest, I think they've both been a bit too aggressive with each other. I think Imrich had the undercut on Curtis, and obviously he pit earlier than all three of us. And I think Imri actually hit PJ at turn 1 when we came out the pit. So you knew something would happen. I said to Ben, I didn't think Imri was in the right headspace with how his car looked. And then they were banning wheels, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened at that. The time it all ticked off. All I saw is them two collided, and then all my thoughts and my reactions just went into keeping my car intact.
All right, so it's fair enough. Thank you for the insight on that front. We'll leave it for the stewards to have a look at, I should think. But still, points on the board, and not a bad day for you guys at all, at least on one side of the garage. Come down to Ben, who came home, unfortunately, P16, Ben. I mean, the start, Ben, looked fantastic, to say the least. Talk me through that.
Yeah, it's just a normal like one for me, and then the pace just falls away. I think I had a bit of a front wing damage that I never really saw. But other than that, the front bite was never there. It was a horrendous race from my point of view, and horrendous qualifying as well, which does not help things.
Of course, you're one of the drivers who ran the 2-stop today, but the one stop appeared to win out for the majority of drivers. Do you feel like would you? If you could do the race again, would you have tried the 1-stop?
Yeah, probably, because the mediums were actually only on like 55% when I pit, so it's the main reason why I pit is just to see if the hard would actually work. They didn't. If anything, they felt worse than the mediums. But yeah, like I said, the front bite was just never there at all. I changed setup last minute, expected it to be quicker, and it just wasn't. So that race is going to be forgotten in a hurry.
Fair enough. I mean, I'll ask you this. Obviously, it's been 4 races since you've come back to the cockpit, at least in terms of RDR. I know you sort of race here and there. In terms of anything you need to sort of, is there anything you sort of highlight to pick up on the next few races?
Mainly just battery management. Again, for some reason, I struggle with management on the battery today, which is abnormal. I'm normally pretty decent around Bahrain. Whether that's just excessive lifting coast or the battery actually just end up not charging up to its extent. But yeah, there's some stuff to look at, and who knows, maybe I'm on the wheel next week.
Well, we're heading to Saudi Arabia next week, and I've reminded you enough times last season what happened last time you went there as a driver in this league. Is the outlook trying to avoid doing that again? I'm sorry, I had to. You know me.
Well, I don't know. It depends if I'm on wheel. There's always a chance it may happen again. But as long as I finish the race, I think I'll be happy with that. I think qualifying could definitely be improved. So no more last minute setup changes for myself.
Keeping things nice and consistent, and hopefully next week we'll see Ben's first points on the board. 100% finishing rate from these first 4 rounds, but still scoreless, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll see a pick up for Ben as a whole, and obviously VCarb to continue making improvements over the course of this first half of the season. Well, that'll do us then in terms of coverage tonight. Pope, any words before we sign off, or sort of as an impromptu addition to tonight's commentary?
Yeah, brilliant race. Well done to everyone. Well done to the top 3 in particular, but every driver deserves credit today. It was really good battling on the most part. So yeah, onwards to Saudi Arabia. Obviously a really fun track. So
from Bahrain, from one desert night to another, a Saudi Arabian showdown that awaits us here on the 13th of July. So next Monday, same time, same place, here on the Zach LC channel. That'll do us then for tonight's coverage. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to Pope for joining me in the commentary box. Thank you to our interviewees who came along at the last few minutes ago. And that'll do it then. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you all in at the next Grand Prix. Goodbye.